In this section of the course, we looked at the concept of a circular economy and why this is important for developing a more sustainable future. We also thought about how we need to look at the world as an interconnected system and how all our choices and impacts can have knock-on effects to other people living on the planet. This approach is known as systems thinking, and it's necessary to make sure that if we take any sustainable choices or actions in certain areas, we don't negatively impact other areas. In this video, we're going to hear from 3 practitioners that apply the concept of circular economy. The first is a social enterprise called the Plastic Shed, which is local in Greater Manchester, that looks at how we can reuse our everyday plastics and how we can get communities involved and motivated to tackle the challenge of plastic waste. Next, we'll hear from Rachel Kelly, who is the International Lead for Design and Textiles within the Design Department at Manchester School of Art. Rachel Kelly has been part of an amazing project called Making Matters that looked at the concept of circular design across disciplines and across the global community, really delving into different ways that we can approach circular design and why it's necessary in lots of different industries and sectors. Rachel's going to explain the project and some of the case studies and outcomes from it, and also her own motivation for pursuing sustainable circular design in her practice. Finally, we'll hear from Daniel Niepsch, who's a researcher in partnership with MMU and UBU Environmental Limited. Daniel is working on a really innovative, exciting research project that looks at taking road sweepings, so waste that's collected on our streets in Greater Manchester that currently goes to landfill, and investigating how we can reuse this waste to prevent it ending up in a landfill and giving it a more positive end-of-life cycle as used as compost in tree planting and greening projects. Daniel's work is really interesting because it approaches that systems thinking and looks at lots of the challenges that face applying a circular economy, from the scientific background to the legislative and community aspects that all need to be changed to really create a circular economy. So while watching, think about what motivates you for circular design. Think about the products you use. Do you know where they came from? Do you know where they end up? Can you change that? And if you can't do that, what does need to change? And how can you start bringing about change, either through your future career, research, or just your choices and impacts you can have? Creating a circular economy isn't an easy task, and it can't happen overnight. And as you'll see as you watch the video, it's going to take lots of different initiatives, projects, research, work from all different disciplines and areas and backgrounds and communities to create. So hopefully this will give you some motivation to think about a circular economy that you can contribute to, and also that you can help bring about through systemic change.
I'm Caitlin, I'm co-owner of Plastic Shed. Plastic Shed is a community benefit society based in Stockport, and we upcycle plastic that is currently unrecyclable in Stockport. So things like your bottle lids, your stretchy kind of LDP bags and vinyl banners and stuff like that, and we reuse them during creative workshops, art installations and making new products. So with my art degree, I did interactive art at MMU, and actually the freedom of the course really helped. So I ended up going down a route of environmental art and actually then getting into plastic. So by the time I joined Plastic Shed, which was at the very beginning of Plastic Shed, I already knew a lot of the stuff and a lot of the skills of how to melt it and what plastics not to melt and when to melt. So that was really helpful. And I think as well, just like Cam especially, she's great at socializing. She's great at, networking and all that thing. And that's been so essential to Plastic Shed. And also Rachel being able to have that community aspect and that knowledge of how to bring the community together and all that stuff. So individually, we actually work really good as a group. So individually, I don't know if we could have done this, but actually together we have, which is really great. I think the thing with plastic is it's literally all around us. It's an everyday issue. It affects every single person. No one can really, unless you're I try and cut down on plastic as much as I can, and it's still in my life. Like I wear contacts, I wear glasses, it's in my clothing as much as I try and buy secondhand, we can't get away from it. And actually bringing in a circular economy helps people connect with it a bit more. And all our plastic is actually collected and donated by the community. So actually having the community come in and they've said themselves I didn't realise how much I had till I started collecting it instead of just throwing it in the bin. And that really gets to them. And then they realise they've tried to cut down as well, but also being able to see what can be made out of it. Because plastic is seen as such this damaging material, but actually it was invented to be reusable and a more environmentally friendly version of paper. So just for people to be able to see, oh gosh, I actually collect this much, I'm going to cut down. And what's left, actually, we can reuse it, and then they'll buy the products, and then they see something that could have been made out of their waste. And it's just a really powerful thing, and they really get it, and it connects people more to their products as well. So this is the shredded down bottle lids. So this is HDPE, and you have to make sure you have to make sure you end up with all HDPE in one and don't mix it with different plastics, which is very easy to do. But different plastics have different melting temperatures. So if you melted HDPE with a different type, it might burn and then release toxic chemicals into the air, which isn't what you want. So yeah. But this here is just HDPE. I think with us, people really get to see it. People get to be involved in the entire process if they want. We have volunteers who come and help us sort the plastic, wash the plastic, shred the plastic, make the products, help us design the products sometimes. Like we'll do open calls to ask people what they want, and people can really get as involved as they want. Whereas I think with recycling stuff, actually, I think last time I looked, it was like 11% of in your entire recycling stuff only actually gets recycled. The rest is just burned and wasted. And actually, when things get recycled, they tend to only be recycled once, and then because they've done all their processes and added stuff in or whatever they do, they can't be recycled again, so it ends. Whereas everything here, we have an open thing where if a product is damaged or you've come to the end of it or you don't need it, which we haven't had happen to us yet, but we have an open thing of just bring it back. We can shred it back down, we can melt it down. We've had people come and do tests on it to make sure what we're doing is safe, to make sure it can be recycled again, and it can be the plastic we use. That's really great. But yeah, I think with bringing the community in and making it more of a holistic thing actually really helps, because a happy community wants to help more. And also it's one of our most important goals, and one of our ethos of our entire business is to bring the community in to help them to build a stronger community, because actually people get to meet through our workshops, through our volunteering, people they wouldn't necessarily meet every day, and actually it breaks down barriers, it gets people to meet and become friends and build, just a stronger community. And I think that has really helped us, and it builds more people want to come to volunteer things because they're like, oh, the lady, gentleman, whatever, who I met last time will be there, I want to meet them again. And it just, I don't know, it's literally like building blocks, and it really just builds the whole thing up as a community. And then the community feel involved and feel part of Plastic Shed. It's not just ours, it's everybody's. And I think because I've done that before, where, you go down a bit of a rabbit hole of just like looking at all the horrendous things with the environment, and you're just like, I can't do anything. That's too much, too big. And actually cutting it down into something that is fun, and people can come make jewellery, and then they go away and they're like, oh, these were made from my bottle lids, and it makes it more fun, and it makes it more endearing, and it makes people want to get involved more, because no one wants to do something where they go away and they cry for 2 hours in bed because they're like, oh, the world. But if you make it positive and you make it fun, and it should be fun, like, it gets more people like hyped up about it and enthusiastic about it, and it helps more than just giving them, obviously, the depressing facts. I'd say just start following, because I was trying to think about this. I was like, if someone's so busy, because everyone's got different busyness levels. And, one of the things when I finished university, I actually injured my shoulder. I couldn't work for 8 months. So I had time to think, right, what can I do? What's the changes? And even just like start following social media people, Instagram, TikTok. There's so many eco people who give out free advice and really easy swaps, like your toothbrushes. You can get fully bamboo eco toothbrushes, or instead of using like face wipes, they're mostly plastic. They're like 99% plastic or something. Use reusable flannels, and there's so many simple steps you can actually take that actually cut things out in a huge way that actually is no financial expense, and actually sometimes is a lot cheaper. And also keeping your eyes open in shops. Like I found, like, especially in food shops, the food will look, so the stuff that's not packaged in plastic, because I've done a bit of hunting around food shops, it looks more expensive than the stuff wrapped in plastic, because it's a better deal for them for the food shops if you buy the bulkier thing. Whereas actually, if you weigh them, they tend to be a lot less, no plastic, and a lot less food waste at the end of the day, because you're only buying what you need. So I'd just say, like, do a bit of research, come to us if you we're always happy, send us an email, like message on Instagram, we're always happy to answer questions, and just start taking those steps to just, one step at a time. You don't need to change overnight. Yeah, I think the one I'm most proud of, it was actually before I was part of Plastic Shed, which maybe I should just lie and say I was part of Plastic Shed at the time. But I think the one I'm most proud of is I was working at a school and it was during university, and my final piece, I made a children's book out of just like plastic bags. So we have this ironing technique where you can fuse the plastic together, so it's almost like a collage. And I made a readable, I made a readable children's book where I went into schools and I read it to the children, and we did workshops and activities and taught them all about plastic, and, you know, figured out what they knew at quite a young age. And they really got it. And one of the things we came away with was they realised they didn't need to bring plastic bottles into school if they bought reusable cups. And the school committed to that. They did that, and then from there we've spoken. Not recently, we've spoken. You know, since then, and they've not only cut that out, they've cut out snacks. So they're only allowed like snacks that are plastic free in the school, and it spread to like the entire primary school. And now they're a completely plastic free primary school. And they will be like, I don't want to take full credit for it, but they were like, this is because of you. And I was like, oh my god. And I think that it's not even just the environmental effect that will have on that one school, but those kids as well. Like each generation will come in and they will learn like, the reason, and they're taught the reason we don't have this because it's plastic and we can't reuse it. And it's that sort of learning for them that they totally get it, and they absorb it and they bring it on, and then they also bring it to their homes and their families, and it's that ripple effect that really spreads. And I was really proud of that. That was a good day.
Hi, I'm Rachel Kelly, and I'm the textile specialist lead on the postgraduate programme in the Department of Design. I really started to question my practice. I used to work as a wallpaper designer before I went into teaching, and I did a sort of a review of my studio, and I was considering the amount of waste in terms of the inks from screen printing that were going out from my studio into a septic tank, because at points I would see the colours of ink floating in the field next to my studio. So that was kind of the start of my circular design journey. And then that's come into my teaching in textiles, because textiles is obviously one of the largest of polluting and challenging industries. Industrial textiles are, I have to say. That led me on to working with communities, and I did a project in the Philippines in 2019, where I was visiting communities of weavers who do traditional weaving and processes such as mud dyeing, where the weavers are sort of very place-based practices, where they are they're growing the cotton in the village, and they're carding and processing the cotton, and then dyeing the cotton with mud from the local paddy fields, the rice paddies. So there's absolutely no waste produced by these communities. And that really, it's just really got me thinking about circular design in general. And that journey led to starting to introduce projects within the design department, and then getting involved in projects such as the Making Matters project with the British Council. What we did was we established a sort of competition, a challenge, and we came up with the theme, fall in love with the future through circular design. And it really was about sharing insights and knowledge and experiences of circular design within the different contexts, from the UK to China. The sort of seed of the project was set up by Thomas Heatherwick, who was working with IM Motors, who were the partners, the strategic partners of the project. So, Thomas Heatherwick and IM Motors wanted to open up this challenge to Chinese students to think about waste, to think about our behaviour and our situations in everyday life, and to come up with new proposals for circular design. And we set about the challenge, but what was really important was that we needed to tell people about circular design, and we needed to explore it. So what was really key for our project was to bring in all the expertise from ManNet, and we had professors and researchers and people from Print City, from Science and Engineering, from the Manchester Fashion Institute, from Manchester School of Art, the Department of Design, and we also had members of the team from the Carbon Literacy Project. In particular, we had Dr. Rachel Dunk. So we started with this toolkit of things like the R hierarchy. We had the Ellen MacArthur Foundation were involved, and we used their model of circular design. So we had lots of tools. I'd say the key challenges that students were coming up with was that I think a lot of students are still thinking that kind of recycling is enough, to help support sustainability and to eliminate climate change. And within circular design and the circular economy, it really has to be about eliminating waste. So, as we know, recycling does involve energy and does involve keeping those materials in the system, which is great because that's eliminating waste, but it does produce and require energy. So we spent quite a lot of time looking at the need to have alternative energy sources. One of the final winning projects was around optometry and glasses wearing. So glasses wearers and glasses wearing is a universal, it's a global thing. It can provide huge opportunities for communities who aren't able to do things because they can't wear glasses. So we had to deal with this idea of glasses lenses. And one of the projects, the circular projects, looked exactly at that. And they proposed a circular system around recycling of the lenses materials, looking at the modular assembly of glasses, being able to remove the lenses from the glasses frame. They also were able to propose a 3D printing system where the glasses would be bespoke to the customer. So again, looking at this elimination of waste through overproduction. Part of the skill set for circular designers or circular economy practitioners is really to understand that complex thinking around different user groups, different people who might be affected by the design decisions you make, and also mindset thinking, being able to understand the different perspectives you're coming from. So, for example, with the glasses project, which was developed as part of the Making Matters, they really were thinking about the sort of health and well-being need of glasses wearing, but also understanding the environmental impact of plastic and materials production. So they were taking two different perspectives and sort of bringing them together into one project. And I think that is really important for circular design practice. One of the winning projects is he was a computer scientist, and he was looking at digital waste and data. He really understood that, circular design thinking is something which every industry has to do. It was really fantastic. And I think some of the other skills involved, other than just thinking about the carbon aspect of waste, that student in particular was really thinking about behaviour, really thinking about the connections between the human and technology, and the differences between us and technology. And his project was called Be the Master of Your Own Memory. And he was thinking a lot about the human need to collect and keep things and own things, in particular things like memory. And he was looking at photographs, and he did a sort of a carbon mapping of how much each one of these photographs on your phone would cost in terms of carbon impact. And he was looking at pictures he'd taken of food, bowls of and plates of food, like people take pictures of their dinner, and sort of critically evaluating the need to keep these things. So it's kind of gone. There's the aspect of things like recycling plastic bottles and reducing waste, through to stuff which I think we could say are quite kind of philosophical and ethical questions around being a human, being a citizen, and memories, and how we kind of the impact of our lives, the impact of needing to be human and keep things. I thought was very interesting.
So my name is Daniel. I work here as the KTP associate at UBU. UBU is or UBU Environmental Limited is a family-owned business that operates about 120 road sweepers across the Northwest. And I am here to work on the project between UBU and Manchester Metropolitan University. So in this project, we're trying to evaluate if we can reuse or repurpose some of the road sweeping waste that get transported and processed in the plant here that they have at UBU, to see if we, for example, could use it as a soil amendment for tree planting programs. So I think this project is important because we're trying to repurpose some of the wastes that get collected in and around Manchester, for example, that are very heterogeneous, and with the process that they implemented here at UBU, they can already separate the different constituents into gravel, sands, and in the end the road sweeping cake, it is called in the end, what we're looking at. So if we manage to use that or repurpose the cake material for other uses, then this would benefit the company in case of reducing taxes for landfill, and would mean that a lot of stuff doesn't go to landfill. So the circular economy, or reducing the waste that goes to landfill and repurposing this material, would mean that a lot of virgin material that is required, for example, in building or planting programs would not be necessary anymore. So using something that has been repurposed and more cleaned up and is not harmful to the environment and human health can then be used to help, for example, local councils to undertake tree planting programs. So UBU feeds into the circular economy because they invested in this treatment plant to basically separate and segregate different road sweeping materials, so into different constituents, so gravel and sand, that already can be repurposed in, for example, building. I think innovation is one of the main drivers also to drive the aim for sustainability or circular economy in this case, because it again reduce the tax for landfill that the company is. So it is kind of a monetary value behind as well as the social factor behind it, using the material that has been collected locally in a local way. Because this material has been sampled locally, so it's from the northwest area, it helps to not or reduce the material that has to be brought in, for example, by imports of virgin material, or the sand or the gravel can be repurposed locally here in building projects, for example. So what has been used here at UBU to be more sustainable is the introduction of the road sweeping waste treatment plant, basically where all the different constituents get separated and then washed and basically cleaned up, and then maybe be hopefully with the final material that we have being repurposed for other projects. So the legislations that are in place are still considering this material that is produced or processed during this plant still considered as a waste. So what we're doing with this project is trying to investigate if this can be declassified as a waste and then therefore can be repurposed. So we have to investigate the environmental health, the human health risks, as well as some of the pollutants that might be present in the cake material that is coming out of the plant in the end. Yeah, because it is considered a waste and under the current legislations being classified a waste, it cannot be repurposed, reused. So from the scientific side, we need to investigate some of the pollutant loadings that might be present in the waste, and then investigate, of course, the environmental and human health hazards before we actually can think about repurposing for what and what kind of type we want to repurpose it for.